What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to TTP Sports. And with the NHL expansion draft coming up tomorrow night, and with the Philadelphia Flyers, there's been so many rumors just circling about ever since the Ryan Ellis trade that happened this past weekend. And it's been a very exciting time. I've been giddy. I've been excited. What's the next move from Chuck Fletcher going to be? Who else are the Flyers going to bring in? How else are they going to make this team better? Because with Ryan Ellis marked off the checkboard, there's a lot of other things that the Flyers do have to do and could possibly do this offseason to fix this team. And like I said, there's been so many rumors circling around going towards this expansion draft, and most likely that is the next big task for Chuck Fletcher, to focus on this expansion draft. And maybe these other rumors that are circling about might be something that actually happens. Who knows? Because it's like I said, it's a very exciting time, and I can't wait for tomorrow, because I think the deadline tomorrow for Seattle to hand in their picks, I think, is around 10 a.m. So Seattle's going to have their picks early tomorrow morning, and who knows if teams discuss about trades during the expansion draft after that period is over. So who knows? The Flyers could be discussing trades with Ron Francis right now, the GM of the Seattle Kraken, because a lot of the rumors right now, it's really good. So we'll get into that. There's also some other things to talk about. Ryan Ellis had his press conference earlier this morning. The Flyers also hired a new assistant coach, Darryl Williams, another guy who's very familiar with Alain Vigneault because he was an assistant coach when he was with the Vancouver Canucks and also the New York Rangers during Alain Vigneault's tenures with both of those teams. So Alain Vigneault has his work painted out all over this Flyers team. He has the coaches that he wants, and basically this is Alain Vigneault's team right now. And I'm sure Alain Vigneault has some insight with Chuck Fletcher on who to bring in and what not, but Chuck Fletcher, with what he has been doing so far and what he has set himself out to do, he got the first checklist done with Ryan Ellis. And the way when you heard him talk, it wasn't during the actual off-season press conference. It was more during that interview with the Snow the Goalie podcast and Crossing Broad, where he really gave away some things that were actually useful details instead of your traditional cliche GM front office lines that really don't give you that much information. He was actually pretty front forth with giving all the some good bits of information along to the guys at Crossing Broad and Snow the Goalie. So it was an interesting take. And also Anthony Sanfilippo, just a couple of days ago during the weekend, he put out another article on Crossing Broad, which was very intriguing, because we all know with the St. Louis Blues and Vladimir Tarasenko, he requested to be traded. He doesn't want to play for the St. Louis Blues anymore. The Blues, they left him unprotected. So there is a chance that Seattle might pick him in the expansion draft. And there's also rumors swirling about that Seattle might not be the final destination for Tarasenko. There are a lot of rumors that are circling that the Flyers might work a trade with the Seattle Kraken to acquire Vladimir Tarasenko from them. And Anthony Sanfilippo does explain this on how it might work out, or what he is hearing rumbling through the works in this article. So let me explain a few of the points that he brought up. So this was during the interview with Chuck Fletcher on the Snow the Goalie podcast. So these are some of the points that he brought up. He talked with Jake Vorcaek about the Flyers needing to get better and that his time here might be coming to a close. And Jake definitely understands that. After all, Vorcaek did an interview in the Czech Republic saying the same exact stuff. Fletcher then told the Snow the Goalie podcast he talked to Ron Francis, who was the GM of the Seattle Kraken, about the possibilities of the Kraken taking a player in the expansion draft for the Flyers and then trading that player to the Flyers for a package in return. So that is interesting. And then you get the news about Tarasenko coming up, and Anthony Sanfilippo also mentions this right after those bullet points. So this is how he thinks, or what he is hearing, the scenario will go down at the expansion draft tomorrow. But he also said this could change every day or so. It can be something completely different. But these are the main rumblings that he has heard. So the first point is the Kraken will take Vladimir Tarasenko from the St. Louis Blues in the expansion draft. And then Seattle will flip Tarasenko to the Philadelphia Flyers for Jake Vorcaek and a draft pick. He is told that it's not going to be a first-round pick, so he's going to think it's around maybe a second or a third-round pick. So if that is true, and you trade for Tarasenko for Jake Vorcaek and a second and a third-round pick, and not give up a first-round pick and not give up a prospect, that's a fantastic trade. I know there's so many injury problems right now with Tarasenko, but that's a great risk to take when you're not giving up that much for him. That is a fantastic trade if that is the case, because remember, take this stuff with a grain of salt. And also the final point in this little scenario that might happen is that when the Flyers pick comes up in the expansion draft, the Seattle Kraken will take Robert Haig. So this whole scenario is Seattle takes Tarasenko, they flip into the Flyers for Vorcaek and a pick, and then Seattle takes Robert Haig in the expansion draft. So that could be something fantastic if that is what actually is going to happen. And I can't wait for it, because there's like so many other people that are getting interviewed talking about the Flyers, and it's just the way that their voices talk, because I heard Jim Jackson on 97.5 a couple of days ago, and he didn't say it, but it felt like from his voice that something was happening. Like he can sense that something was happening. And even guys like Elliot Freeman, he said Chuck Fletcher, like many times during his 31 Thoughts podcast, that Chuck Fletcher is going to do whatever he can to help the Flyers roster and make them a better team for next year. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. And like I said, take this rumor with a grain of salt, because it's rumors, and everything rumor you just right now you can't take seriously. But also, there's something that's also intriguing that I should bring up too. If you are on Twitter just browsing, there's one Twitter account that's called NHL Trade Rumors Daily, and he's been getting a lot of stuff right, because he brought up some stuff about Taylor Hall, maybe possibly re-signing with the Bruins, a bunch of other stuff that's happening, a lot of other trades that happened that he got correct. And also he brought up a point, I think it was a couple of months ago, or maybe a month or two ago, or hell, maybe this month actually, that he said that if the Flyers were to take a defenseman from the Nashville Predators, it would be Ryan Ellis and not Matthias Ekholm. And what do you know? That trade did happen a couple of days ago. So, and he's also been circling in the rumor mill about the Vladimir Tarasenko stuff, and he says the Flyers are really a team that's circling into that trade mill and possibly are the favorite team to land Tarasenko. But then also Elliot Friedman brought up, don't just, with everything that says Vladimir Tarasenko to the Flyers, don't take all of that stuff seriously, because of course other teams are going to be involved. But right now, every rumor, it sounds like, circling is towards Vladimir Tarasenko being traded to the Flyers at the expansion draft. So it's a fun time. It's a fun time, and I can't wait to see that happen. And let's get into some other stuff too, because like I said, expansion draft coming up tomorrow. So who do we think Seattle is going to take? I know I just discussed it with the Crossing Broad article about them possibly taking Robert Hay, because if you look at the Flyers of the players who they left unexposed, or who they've left exposed actually, JVR's on that list, Jake Voracek, you got Shane Gostisbehere, you got Robert Haig, you got Justin Braun. I think Felix Sandstrom is the goaltender, and then various other players that are probably exposed for the Flyers. And then you got all your protected guys, then you got your people that are exempt. So Seattle, right now, with the way Chuck Fletcher put that unprotected list out, he's betting on Seattle taking one of those big contract guys off of our roster, whether that's JVR, whether that's Jake Voracek, whether that is Shane Gostisbehere. And you don't know what could happen. They can take a JVR. They can take a Jake Voracek. They can take either of these guys. They could take a Robert Haig or a Justin Braun, for crying out loud. So you just don't know what's going to happen. And I do feel like the Flyers are definitely going to be big in the trade market this upcoming week, because Chuck Fletcher has also stated that he is willing to move that first-round pick. So the Flyers are going to be very active this week. It's my gut feeling. I feel like they're going to be very active in the trade market, whether that using that first-round pick, whether this rumor that Anthony Sanfilippo brought up is true, and they're going to trade for Vladimir Tarasenko at the expansion draft. It's, like I said, it's going to be an exciting week. And for terms of players that the Kraken can take, I don't know. I don't know if this rumor is not true, who would they take? Maybe they do take a risk on the JVR because his contract only has 2 years left, and that's more of a manageable deal. Maybe they do take a crack on Voracek because he's a guy that is familiar with Dave Haxtell. He's had one of his best career seasons under Dave Haxtell. And also the same thing with Shane Gostisbehere. Gostisbehere had 2 of his most productive seasons in the league under Dave Haxtell. His rookie year in the season where he got 60-plus points. So, yeah, there's some familiarity with the Flyers and Dave Haxtell. So, of course, because he was the head coach of the team a couple of years ago. Duh. But you know what I mean. And Maybe Dave Haxtell has some insight for Ron Francis when it comes to the Philadelphia Flyers roster because he's really familiar with a lot of the players that are on the team. So maybe he gives them that insight, say, hey, maybe you take this guy because he had so-and-so for the team when I coached them. So you never know. But hopefully, I would love this rumor that Anthony Sanfilippo put out to be true. It'd be fantastic. It'd be absolutely fantastic. I would take Vladimir Tarasenko in a minute. Because I know the injury risk, there's gonna be risks in every trade that you do. There was a risk with the Ryan Ellis trade because of his injury history, but during his press conference today, he said it wasn't a shoulder issue, it was more of a knuckle issue that his injury concern was with. So he said he's feeling good, he's going to be ready for this upcoming training camp, so I'm very excited to hear that. And with Vladimir Tarasenko, you never know what could happen because it's more, do you blame the St. Louis medical staff? Because he did get another opinion and something else went there with something else. He went with the side of the other doctor's opinion rather than the team's medical staff. So maybe if Tarasenko does get traded to the Flyers, maybe does he have a chip on his shoulder and he does come back a lot healthier and he can be productive for this team? Because Claude Giroux has not had a sniper his entire career. He has not had that guy that can put the puck into the net his entire damn career. Yeah, he had Scott Hartnell when he scored 30 goals. He had Wayne Simmons, but not a legitimate guy who can just put the puck in the back of the net consistently. And Tarasenko, yeah, he's a couple of years removed from his last 30-plus goal season. But if he comes back healthy and you put him on a line, you put him on a line with Claude Giroux and Sean Couturier, and I'm just baffled thinking about that. That's just making me excited just thinking about it. But if you put him on a line with those two guys and he is healthy, imagine how productive that line can be. Imagine Claude Giroux finally playing with a sniper. That'll be amazing. That'll be absolutely fantastic. Claude Giroux finally getting that sniper that he can use, and Tarasenko also being on the power play unit, finally getting a guy that can shoot on the power play. That can be helpful. And the same thing with Ryan Ellis. Ryan Ellis can also quarterback a power play. Even though I assume Ivan Provorov's probably going to be that guy on power play one, but Ryan Ellis is also a guy that could possibly be the defenseman on power play too, so you never know. You definitely don't know what Alain Vigneault is going to do, but imagine Vladimir Tarasenko on the Flyers, playing with Claude Giroux, playing with all the playmakers that we have on this goddamn team. Imagine people feeding him the puck, and hopefully he can come back if he is on the team. Like I said, take everything with a grain of salt. Take everything with a grain of salt. But still, it's very exciting to think about. And it's very exciting to find the possibility that the Flyers are just in all of these trade rumors. And there's still definitely a lot of things that the Flyers need to do this offseason. Right now, the expansion draft, that's first on their list. And then whatever happens with the draft, if they do trade the first-round pick or if they utilize it in that draft to pick a young guy in there. So you never know what's going to happen. And there's also a lot of things during this offseason that they have to do. I do think the Flyers possibly need to add a second or a third-line center because, Kevin Hayes, he's coming up. He's going to have that core muscle surgery. He's definitely not going to be 100% coming into the season. So you might have to go out and get another center. You have to go out and possibly get another top 4 defenseman, maybe in the free agency market. A guy that can play with Sanheim because technically Sanheim lost his defensive partner. So maybe you can go out and get another veteran. Go out and get a guy like an Alec Martinez, a guy like David Savard, 2 guys that have won Stanley Cups. Maybe you go out and get a guy like an Adam Larson. There's a bunch of ways that you can go. Maybe you go after a Ryan Suter who just got bought out from the Minnesota Wild, even though I think that's more of a last-minute resort type of signing because he's not going to require that much money. He's going to be getting paid from Minnesota for a while, so he's most likely going to sign for league minimum. So even though I still do think that is a last-minute resort type of thing, I would more prefer going after a guy like a Savard, going after a guy like a Martinez, or a guy like a Larson. Just another veteran that can play with a guy like Sanheim because I feel like Sanheim and Provorov just need the same type of defenseman playing with them. A guy that they can rely on, a guy that's going to be responsible in his own zone, and a guy that's going to allow them to utilize their strengths. Because Provorov and Sanheim are guys that like to get up into the play. They like to chip into the offense. So if you have a guy that is going to be responsible behind him and get back into the other zone, there you go. That could be work benefits for those two. And then you also never know if Cam York is going to make the team, but I do think the Flyers want him to take as much time as he needs to develop properly before they rush him. But you never know if Shane Gostisbehere could be that third pairing defenseman with Justin Braun. Who knows? Maybe Cam York does make the team and they move Shane Gostisbehere somewhere else. Like I said, you never know what is going to happen, but it's going to be fun. It's definitely going to be a fun offseason. Also looking for a backup goaltender as well. There's a bunch of backup goaltenders that Chuck Fletcher can either go trade for or go sign in free agency. So there's a lot of options. There is a lot of directions that Chuck Fletcher can go this offseason. And it's going to be very exciting because he's on a mission. And he looks like he is a man on a mission. And I'm very excited to see what happens. So, what are your thoughts on this video, everyone? What are your thoughts on these Vladimir Tarasenko trade rumors? Do you think he's going to get traded to the Flyers? Do you think you're more taking it with a grain of salt? Would you like Tarasenko on the Flyers? I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments section below, so don't forget to leave those down there. Don't forget to drop a like on this video. Don't forget to check out the Painted Lines, which I'm a part of. Their links will be down in the description below. Don't forget to check out the links to Broads Media, the Flyer to Pod merchandise website, and also for Flyers Nitty. All that stuff is down in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, everyone. And I will see you next time.